You ever think you're about to walk into a moment of warmth and instead walk straight into a nightmare? This all started when I tried to surprise my parents for Easter, with chocolate, flowers, and a big smile. What I found instead shattered me. My parents were living in the garage, and my sister? She'd taken over their house like some queen on a stolen throne. I'm Mia. I live about 5 hours from my childhood home, far enough that visits aren't weekly, but close enough to feel guilty when they aren't monthly. I call my mom almost every day, nothing major. Just those little check-ins where she says she's doing fine and asks about the weather, work, or whether I've eaten anything green recently. Every single time she'd say the same thing. We're fine, honey, just doing our usual. I had no reason to doubt her. My parents were the picture of quiet resilience, the kind of people who made do with little and loved a lot. My dad, a carpenter by trade, literally built our house with his own hands. Every wall, every nail, every beam, he laid it all. My mom filled it with warmth, cinnamon simmering on the stove even when there wasn't anything baking, worn wooden floors, yellow curtains that glowed in the afternoon light. That house didn't just have four walls, it had a soul. And my sister Cassandra, she was different. Older by 2 years, louder by 100. A magnet for drama, a storm in high heels. Growing up, she always had some new emergency, usually of her own making. Fights with teachers, jobs she quit because they didn't respect her genius, boyfriends she clung to like lifeboats in a sea she refused to swim in. But to strangers, she was dazzling, a real charmer. Smiles, compliments, the whole package. She could compliment your shoes while sliding the rug out from under your life. I hadn't seen her in months. Our last text exchange was strained, at best. She'd always had a complicated relationship with my parents, but I figured it was the usual push-pull. Nothing serious, nothing dangerous. I was wrong. This Easter, I decided to surprise my parents. No warning. Just me showing up at the doorstep with a bouquet of tulips, a few chocolate eggs, and a full heart. I even imagined the moment. Mom's gasp when she opened the door, Dad coming up from the basement with grill smoke on his flannel, maybe a goofy little bunny statue by the porch. It was going to be perfect. But when I pulled into the driveway, something felt off. Instantly. No decorations, no lights in the window, no music from the kitchen radio. Just a still, too quiet house. I got out, confused. Maybe they'd stepped out? But on Easter? That wasn't like them. My parents never missed Easter at home. It was one of those holidays they actually celebrated. Simple, sweet, just the three of us with pastel tablecloths and way too much food. I walked up to the front door and knocked. Nothing, no movement inside. I rang the bell. Silence. A chill ran down my spine. I still had my old key. Out of habit, or maybe instinct, I slid it into the lock and turned. The door opened, and the world I knew tilted. Gone were the soft yellow walls, replaced by a cold gray that felt like the inside of a waiting room. The furniture? Completely different. Sterile, modern, soulless. Where once there'd been plush, floral couches and mismatched end tables full of character, there was now a stark white leather sectional that looked like it belonged in a dentist's lobby. No warmth, no history, just showroom emptiness. The family photos were gone, all of them, replaced with black and white abstract prints, jagged lines and weird shapes like someone was trying way too hard to look sophisticated. My mom's antique cuckoo clock, the one she wound every night like a ritual, replaced with some monstrosity made of twisted metal. It looked like a sculpture made from angry coat hangers. I stood frozen in the doorway. For a terrifying second, I actually wondered if I was in the wrong house. And then I heard a voice. Her voice. "Wait, you didn't tell me your sister was coming." That was Cassandra, no doubt about it. That voice could slice through glass. Then a man laughed, a smug, lazy kind of laugh. "What? The golden goose? She'll be gone by morning." My heart dropped into my stomach. I backed out of that house like it was radioactive. My brain was spinning. I didn't know what to do, what to think, what to even hope for. My body moved on autopilot, circling around to the garage, an old standalone building behind the house. Just checking, I guess. That's when I saw it. A light through the side window. Diamond soys, flickering. Like someone had strung up an old lamp and hoped for the best. I walked slowly, my hands shaking as I reached for the garage door. I opened it inch by inch, breath stuck in my throat, and there they were. My dad sat on a stool, hunched over an old cabinet hinge, screwdriver in hand. My mom was in a folding chair, wearing her winter coat indoors, a blanket over her legs. In the corner, a single cot, a camping stove on a wobbly table, 2 chairs, 1 lamp, no insulation, no heat, just my parents, in their own garage, like they were squatters. My mom looked up and saw me. Her face didn't register surprise, just a tired softness. She whispered, "Oh, honey." My voice cracked. "Mom? What is this?" She looked down. "It's temporary." My dad didn't even turn, just muttered, "Your mom's cold." I told her to wear gloves. I stepped inside. The air was cold, smelling faintly of gasoline and old wood. "Why are you out here?" I asked. "What happened?" They glanced at each other, silent communication passing between them. Then my mom said, "It's nothing. Cassandra and Nathan just needed some space." "In the house?" I repeated, my voice sharp. "They're fixing it up," she whispered. "Just for a while. Just for a while." Like that made it okay. I stood there, stunned, trying to hold myself together. And then, very calmly, I said, "Pack a bag. I'll be back in an hour." My mom blinked. "What?" "You heard me." My dad finally set down his screwdriver. "Where are we going?" I didn't raise my voice, didn't cry, I was ice cold. "You're not staying in this garage another night." And then I walked out. 10 minutes later, I pulled into the nicest hotel in town. The kind with chandeliers over the front desk, soft music playing in the lobby, and those giant armchairs that swallow you whole. It smelled like eucalyptus and fresh coffee. Warmth radiated from the fireplace nearby. The woman at the counter gave me a polite smile. "1 room, 2 beds, full week," I said. My voice didn't waver. She handed me the key cards like she knew, like she could tell something was broken in me, and this was my first step toward gluing it back together. When I pulled back into my parents' driveway, I had the hotel key card in one hand, and fury boiling just beneath my calm expression. I opened the garage door again. Same image, my parents bundled like vagrants in a place that once held lawn chairs and Christmas ornaments. I walked in with a forced smile. "We're leaving now," I said. My mom stood but hesitated. "Sweetheart, we don't want to make a scene." I looked her dead in the eyes. "Then let me make it for you." There was a silence that hung heavy in the air, the kind that comes before a thunderclap. And then, no argument, no protest. They came with me. I helped them pack a few things. Not much, just essentials. My mom took her knitting bag. My dad grabbed a toolbox, even though we were going to a hotel. It was like he needed something familiar to hold on to. At the hotel, I tucked them into beds with real sheets and pillows that didn't smell like mildew. My mom stared at the little soap bottles in the bathroom like they were foreign artifacts. My dad turned on the TV and immediately found an old Western. He smiled. For the first time since I walked into that garage, I felt my lungs fully expand. Then I went to my room, locked the door, and opened my laptop. "See, what Cassandra doesn't realize is, I'm not just her quiet little sister. I'm a contracts manager. I live and breathe fine print. I dissect loopholes for fun. Cassandra plays games, but I play chess, and I always know the rules. She might have charmed her way into the house, but legally, that was a whole different battlefield. And lucky for me, I brought the heavy artillery." First, I dug through my parents' old files. They're not digital natives by any stretch, but they keep everything: scanned copies, tax returns, insurance forms, you name it. on this beat-up thumb drive shaped like a giraffe. It used to hang from a keychain in the kitchen. I remembered it like a beacon. It was still there. I found it tucked inside a coffee can on the garage shelf, wrapped in a rubber band. Next morning, Mom and I went back to the garage, just the two of us. She was nervous. I could feel it radiating off her like heat from a stove. "You sure about this?" she asked, her voice trembling. I nodded. "We're just getting documents." We unlocked an old metal file cabinet my dad kept. It groaned open like it hadn't seen light in years. Inside, gold, property records, insurance policies, receipts, and most important of all, the deed. It was in a manila folder marked Home. Just that. Nothing fancy. I opened it slowly and read the names. My parents' names, only theirs. Not Cassandra, not Nathan, no one else. I looked at my mom. She was watching me like she was afraid I'd vanish. "It's okay," I said gently. "Just trust me." That night, while my parents rested, safe, warm, and watching a rom-com with subtitles, I made a plan. I could have gone nuclear right then. Showed up at the house with the deed, forced them out immediately. But that wasn't good enough. I didn't want just revenge. I wanted clarity. I wanted Cassandra to show her hand, and I wanted her to underestimate me. One last time. So I sent her a message. "Hey, want to grab lunch tomorrow? Just us?" She replied almost instantly. "Wait, really? You're not mad?" Number been thinking, "We should talk." She took the bait. We met at this trendy cafe downtown, the kind that serves $5 slices of bread and calls them artisan toast. She showed up in a beige trench coat like she was auditioning for a movie. Her lipstick was too red, her smile too wide, the same performance I'd seen 1,000 times before. "I'm so glad you reached out," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "I know it's been tense, but I think we're finally on the same page." I smiled. "I think so too." We ordered. She got her usual, lavender latte, avocado toast with pomegranate seeds, like she was trying to impress Instagram. I just let her talk. She rambled about renovations, how hard it was being the only one who steps up, how Mom and Dad need structure, and how she and Nathan were just trying to help. I let her talk until her toast was half eaten. Then, casually, I said, "You know, maybe you're right. Maybe Mom and Dad do need help, some structure." Her eyes lit up like a jackpot machine. "Exactly. That's what I've been trying to say." I nodded slowly. "I even talked to a couple of realtors." She blinked. "Wait, what?" "If we sell the house," I continued, "we could use the money for their long-term care. Maybe even help you and Nathan get your own place." She leaned forward, eyes shining. "I knew you'd come around." And that's when I pulled out my phone and placed it gently on the table, screen on, timer running. "I also recorded this whole conversation," I said, my voice soft but deadly. Her face cracked like porcelain dropped on tile. I stood up, calm as ever, dropped a 20 on the table, and walked away. Didn't look back. And in that moment, I knew something for sure. She might have stolen time, but I was about to take everything else back. After that cafe showdown, I didn't go home. I didn't celebrate. I didn't even smile. I went straight back to the hotel, past my parents' room where I could hear them softly laughing at a sitcom, and locked myself in mine. I opened my laptop again and started preparing everything. I'd already collected the deed and scanned documents. I had the conversation recorded, time-stamped, and backed up to 3 different drives. If Cassandra tried to twist things, which, let's be honest, she absolutely would, I needed to be 10 steps ahead. This wasn't about spite anymore. This was about justice. My parents had lived in that house for over 30 years. It held the entire story of our family, Christmas mornings, scraped knees, birthday candles. And now they were in a hotel room because their own daughter had evicted them in every way but legally. I wasn't just taking back the house. I was taking back dignity. 3 days later, I returned to the house. But this time, I wasn't alone. I had an officer standing beside me, uniformed, calm, professional, holding a copy of the formal eviction notice I'd filed through legal channels. I didn't tell my parents what I was doing. They were finally breathing again. I wanted them to keep breathing freely for as long as they could. Let me do the heavy lifting. I pulled into the driveway like I owned it, because legally, I was closer to owning it than Cassandra ever would be. Nathan opened the door, the gall of him. It was still my dad's robe hanging off his shoulders like some lazy king. He held a mug of coffee that smelled like the expensive kind, the kind my parents couldn't afford anymore. He smirked. "You lost, sweetheart?" I stepped forward and held out the envelope. "Nope, but you're about to be." He glanced at the paperwork, confused. "What the hell is this?" That's when Cassandra appeared behind him. Her eyes locked on the document in my hand, and the color drained from her face. "You can't be serious," she whispered. "Oh, I'm very serious." Immediately she switched gears. Her voice softened, her expression melted into fake concern. "Look, we just need a little more time. The house needed work. Mom and Dad said it was fine." "You're not on the deed," I said, cutting her off. "You're not on any lease. You're a guest, and guests don't get to take over." Nathan scoffed. "You can't evict family. That's not how this works." The officer beside me stepped forward calmly. "Actually, it is. You've been served. I suggest you read the paperwork carefully." The moment stretched out, one of those surreal seconds where everything feels slower, thicker, heavier. Cassandra's jaw clenched. Nathan's eyes darted from me to the officer and back. You could see the exact moment the power shift hit them. It was glorious, and it was just beginning. They didn't have a leg to stand on. Legally, they were squatters. Emotionally, they were exposed. They'd played their hand, assumed no one would check the deck, and now the house of cards they'd built was crumbling. I turned without another word and walked away. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see Cassandra's mask fall off completely. That afternoon, I returned to the hotel. My parents were watching some old classic movie, something with Cary Grant and witty dialogue. My mom looked up and smiled. "You're back early," I smiled back. "Yeah, just needed to run a few errands." I didn't tell them what I'd done, not yet. They didn't need that wait, but they would find out soon enough, in the best possible way. 1 week later, the house was empty. No Cassandra, no Nathan, no more lies, no more twisted renovations, no more garage exile. It was just home. I brought my parents back myself, drove them in the same car I'd used that Easter morning when everything fell apart. But this time, the silence was calm, warm, like the moment before a sunrise. My dad stepped out first. His eyes flicked to the porch, clean again, the chipped bunny statue back in place like it had never left. My mom followed, slower, her hand in mine. She stepped into the living room, paused, and gasped. The floral centerpiece was back. She walked toward it like she wasn't sure it was real. She reached out, touched it, and whispered, "I thought this was gone." "I kept it in the attic," I said. "Just had a feeling we'd need it again." And for the first time in too long, I saw her smile without sadness behind it. Later that day, my dad called me into the kitchen. He handed me a folder, old, brown, worn at the corners. I opened it, expecting maybe a recipe or bills, but inside was the deed. He looked at me, his voice low and steady. "If anything ever happens to us, this is yours. You were the one who came back." I didn't know what to say, so I just hugged him. And for a while, we didn't speak. We didn't have to. That house was alive again. My mom opened every window like she was exorcising bad spirits. My dad turned on the old radio and tinkered in the garage, his garage, without needing a parka. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon again. The couch, the real one, still sagged in the same place where years of memories had left their mark. Peace doesn't come with thunder. Sometimes it comes with tea on a rainy afternoon. But Cassandra, well, Cassandra wasn't handling it gracefully. Cassandra, for all her charm and tricks, didn't know what to do when her mask stopped working. You'd think after everything, she'd accept what she did and try to make amends. But no, that's not how people like her operate. When the walls finally come down, they don't rebuild. They point fingers at whoever's holding the hammer. She didn't even stay in town long enough to talk to me. According to the officer who served the notice, she packed her things in angry silence. Nathan shouted a little, called it unbelievable, said we were tearing a family apart. But he wasn't exactly fighting for love and loyalty. He was mad because he lost the free ride. 2 days after the eviction notice was delivered, Nathan vanished. Gone. No word, no call. Left Cassandra to deal with the fallout all by herself. Coward. Word travels fast in a small town, especially when drama's involved. A few days later, I started hearing the whispers. Cassandra had been couch surfing, crashing with an old college friend one week, sleeping on someone's futon the next. The people willing to take her in were dwindling. She'd worn through her list of besties fast. The story she told? That we, my parents and I, had betrayed her. That we'd turned our backs, stolen her future, and left her with nothing. But here's the thing about Cassandra. She always paints herself as the victim in a portrait she lit on fire. There were people who believed her. There always are. She's good at sounding broken. That's the real tragedy. She could have been something great. She was smart, persuasive, charismatic. But she never learned that trust is built, not demanded. And once she lost ours, that was it. Meanwhile, back at the house, peace bloomed like a late spring flower. That first week, my parents didn't do much. I think they were still afraid it might all disappear. My mom would flinch every time the doorbell rang. My dad would double-check the locks at night, even though he built the door himself. But then, slowly, things softened. I came over one evening and found them grilling steaks in the backyard. My dad was wearing his old grillmaster apron, burned on one corner from a 4th of July mishap 10 years ago. My mom had tulips in a vase on the patio table. Music was playing from a Bluetooth speaker she barely knew how to use, but that didn't stop her from dancing as she set the plates. It felt like time had rewound, like the nightmare in the garage had been some strange dream. But it wasn't a dream, and I didn't want them to forget that. Not because I wanted them to relive the pain, but because I wanted them to remember how strong they were for surviving it. One night, my mom pulled me aside in the hallway. "You saved us," she said. I shook my head. "You saved yourselves. I just held the flashlight." She smiled at that, then hugged me longer than usual. That summer, we rebuilt everything. Not the walls. Those were fine. I mean the heart of the home. We pulled the family photo albums out from storage, cleaned up the attic, even found a box full of childhood drawings I'd thought were lost. My mom turned the spare bedroom into a little reading nook for herself, and my dad fixed the porch swing that had rusted under Cassandra's renovation project. It wasn't just about reclaiming the space. It was about healing it. And the house responded. It was like it had been holding its breath. Now, every floorboard creaked with purpose again. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon, not bleach. The couch sagged in the right places. The curtains danced when the windows were open. The house felt like ours. People ask me if I'll ever talk to Cassandra again, if we'll make peace. And I won't lie, part of me wants to believe she could change. That she might show up someday, real tears in her eyes, no games, no manipulation. Just the sister I used to know, back when we were kids chasing fireflies in the yard. But that's not who she is, at least not now. Forgiveness is a door, not a hallway. You can't just walk through expecting everyone to be waiting on the other side. Right now, that door is closed. And I'm okay with that. Because sometimes, protecting your peace means letting people stay outside. The final moment of that year came full circle, Easter again, 1 year later. This time, I didn't show up unannounced. I knocked like a guest, even though I wasn't one. My mom opened the door and grinned. "You're just in time." The table was already set. Steaks sizzling, tulips in the vase, same playlist on the speaker, same warm honey light filling the house. And when I walked into the living room, my mom's antique clock ticked steadily on the wall, just as it always should have. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was saving anyone. I felt home.